with Twitter is legacy. You see, every time you tweet, you're actually leaving a breadcrumb to your past, to someone else, to your future kids, to your future grandchildren, to cousins of yours who you never meet. You're actually defining yourself in a way which you don't even realize. But it's like, I remember, my kids are 16 now, they got on the computer when they were 3 years old. And I remember when they were 5 years old, I wanted to talk to them as adults, but I couldn't because they were 5 years old. And even at 16, I really can't talk to my kids as adults because it's just not proper. But yet my kids could see what I'm thinking, they could see my tweets, they could feel me, they understand me a little bit. But I really can't talk to them about what I'm writing because it's not so trivial. And frankly, whether or not you had a burger last night for dinner, you hated that movie, you're putting in a time frame and a timeline of your life. And you can actually use Twitter to inspire yourself in the future because you could write things down right now and 2 years from now look at it and remember. And sometimes those are the trigger things that change you or change someone else near you. And so there's a generation that's growing up right now that takes digital photography for granted, that takes videos and YouTube for granted, and takes Twitter or status updates for granted. And we never had that, at least I never had that. And that to the extent that you can actually document your life, even passively, and leave a legacy behind for other people to remember you by or be understood by is priceless. This is stuff that people never had before, and so I'll argue there's no such thing as a worthless tweet. You know, if you're going to tweet something, it's sort of like doing things in the moment. One of the rules about doing something in the moment is you have to have no regrets. Otherwise, you shouldn't do it. And when you're tweeting, you can always delete stuff. Once a tweet goes out, you can't always pull them back. But if you want to be remembered for anything, it's a priceless platform we have to affect change right now, both for ourselves, for our future, and for future legacy, which is changing the world around us. And so, I've just discovered that, you could be 9 years old and lonely, but you could also have friends. And whether you have 3 friends or 5 friends or 357,000 friends, you can still be lonely too. Because you could be lonely in a crowd, but if you connect with people and connect with their heart, there's so much good out there. It's overwhelming, in fact, and that there are people out there that want to be with you, help you. I mean, I remember I found love on Twitter. It's like I was in a waiting room for outpatient work for a relative for a 30-minute procedure. And I had my Wi-Fi laptop, so it was cool. After a half hour, the person didn't get out of the operating room. I was like, whatever. It became an hour, became 2 hours. I was kind of panicking at this point. It's supposed to be a half hour. So I put out a tweet a couple of years ago, and 40 people who followed me actually shared love. I mean, I was sort of crying in the waiting room, worried about what was happening to this person, because I was so concerned. And all these people who were following me, who I never connected with, finally said something, and it actually changed everything for me. And then that was kind of cool. And I also found that if you have followers, they can affect change for you. Like New York City last year, I had 18 boxes to bring into Manhattan for this first conference I did, but I had no staff. And while I was driving into New York City, I realized I had to park my car in a no parking zone. I had no time to unload the boxes. So I put out a tweet asking friends from New York City if you could, if you happen to be by 340 West 50th Street at 3 o'clock, I could use some help unloading boxes. I got there at 3:07. Would you know there were 8 random strangers waiting there? And of these 8 random strangers, it took 10 minutes, everything was unloaded. And 6 of them stayed 3.5 hours to collate the badges for the conference the next day. And I was like, how do you do this? But this is what I'm talking about. There's something living out there. There are people, they have feelings, they have voices, and they're willing to and able to help you and me and everyone. And there's a connection out there that I can't define. But it seems like everyone is always listening for something. And that if you let yourself give people the benefit of the doubt, you can do anything you want to. If you have a cause you're passionate about, raising $1 is better than raising nothing because it wasn't raised before. Or even a penny. Every penny matters. It's a matter of believing in something and affecting change. So I just think that, when history books are written about the revolution we're living in, it's something which isn't socialist, isn't communist, it isn't the capitalist. It's something which we the people are changing, and it's happening to us all over the world. As long as you have access to the broadband internet, you can affect change, whether you're living in Haiti, whether you're living in Montreal. And if any of you want to get involved yourself. You don't have to ask anyone for permission, you just do it. And if someone bothers you, fuck them. I mean, at the end of the day, you set your own rules. And this is the thing that We live in a time where we don't have boxes around us to describe us, we just do. And it's much better to always ask for forgiveness than ask for permission anyway. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share. I just wanted to explain to you that I think there is this revolution happening. Something which I haven't seen anyone really talk about. And this social revolution is changing the face of business. It's changing us as people. The two words I got out of my own conferences I can now spell called serendipity and humanity. And that when I went out to discover, to figure out whether or not, there was any bullshit about the influence of the real-time internet on celebrity, the media, advertising, and politics, it turns out there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I truly believe that any politician who uses social media to get elected, if they don't use social media when they're in office, they won't get reelected. There's a level of transparency people will be held to, and accountability they'll be held to, and there's no hiding. And that, if you're not real about this, you're nothing. Because at the end of the day, it's about trust, it's about believing, it's about transparency, but it's about you. And everyone in this room is a brand. You see, whether or not you work for a marketing company, or a large company, or a small company, everyone here is a brand. How you represent yourself is up to you. If you choose to curse on Twitter, if you choose to curse on Facebook, that's up to you, but this is how you're known. And you have brand, anyway, how many people here represent brands? Right, so everyone else and you have brand management issues when it comes to how you're represented. Because it's one thing for you to be responsible for corporate brands, but you, the brand, matter just as much. And how you do things will affect how other people see you and work with you in the future. And I think it's kind of cool that everyone can be a brand, because that's kind of heavy, but it's true. Anyway, I always look at myself still as being a lonely person, but I kind of learned a lot about life when it comes to platforms and the radio for me. If I wasn't a ham radio operator, I don't think I ever would have appreciated the frequency stuff and understanding we're all there together, but we are. And I think that this real-time web is changing stuff, but it's also giving us all opportunities to affect change too. So anyway, I want to thank you for your time, and if you have time, I have maybe a couple minutes for questions. I'd be happy to take any questions, but thank you for listening. I am thinking of bringing the 140 conference to Toronto, maybe later this year. Not definite yet, but if you want to do that, I need help finding access to people who are affecting change using social platforms. People who are discovering themselves, and people who are in the media, or in celebrities, or people who are just on TV, who connecting with other people. Because the conference is pretty heavy stuff. But I think that, at the end of the day, if you share your voice, you can affect change. This is why when I tweet stuff, I try to remind myself every day that every day you can make a difference, because I believe that. Right? And I believe that every day matters, and I believe that that we all have our own time horizons, but it's up to us to use that time horizon for us. And it's like only when someone dies do you realize you missed the person. Why is that? How come you can't tell someone you love someone when they're still alive? How come you don't appreciate what you have until you don't have it anymore? I don't know. But I try to use these platforms to sort of enjoy life every moment while we can, because when we're not here, you really can't do that either. So anyway, thanks for your time. Any questions, by the way? Any questions? No questions? Front row, yes.
This question is slightly self-indulgent. You spoke about your experience helping in Haiti, and I wanted to know what your motivation was when you started. You know why I'm crying.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I sort of felt, helpless. I kind of wanted to do something that would be useful, and I was someone who, whenever there was a crisis, I used to relay messages or try to do something that was of some function. So I do have 357,000 followers. It's not 5 million like Britney Spears, but it's something. And I thought that if I could somehow relay a message, I know that when my idea was looking for a hospital for the cancer, I helped them find that hospital. I helped them find that doctor. I helped people find blood types and stuff. I don't know what makes me want to do that. This is what drives me, is trying to help. It's like I put everyone else in front of me all the time. It's what I am.